like to call to order the Westmont Village Board meeting of March 21st, 2024 to order at 6 o'clock p.m. and ask Clerk Simsky for roll call.
Mayor Gunther?
Here.
The clerk's here. Let me find that. Trustee Barker?
Here.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo? Here. Trustee Little? Here. Trustee Nero?
Here.
Trustee Simonovich?
Here.
Attorney Zemanek is in, right? Manager May?
Here.
And that's us for
Would
today.
everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to our regular monthly meeting. The first item is our open forum. If there's someone here that wants to talk about something that's not on the agenda, now's the time. And when something's on the agenda, we give the opportunity to discuss it at that point. So seeing no one that wants to address the board, I'll close open forum and I'll move on to reports. Mine's the first one. This Saturday, March 23rd at 10 a.m. at the library, we'll have a presentation from not only the library, but we'll have information on our new waste hauler, an economic development update, information regarding upcoming programs and events, and of course, staff and myself will be on hand to answer any questions from the public. Again, our new waste and recycling vendor will be here later tonight. Staff has been working with Flood Brothers to finalize the contract details with our new recycling and waste hauler. Once all the information is confirmed, it will be shared with the public via our village website. Transition information is expected during the month of April with the new recycling and waste hauler beginning May 1st. Free leaf pickup. Residents can put out an unlimited bags of leaves, of course in the brown bags, for leaf pickup during the week of April 8th through the 12th. So everybody has one pickup during that time. And when it's your pickup, you can put as many bags of leaves as you want there. This is a free program, and again, it's for leaves only. Look at our website for additional details. And I'll turn to Clerk Simsky.
And I just have one announcement, and that's that our village offices will be closed March 29th and May 27th. So I know that's a long space in between, but just letting you know.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Nero, Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things today. Prior to today's board meeting, we had our regular scheduled Public Works Committee meeting, and I just have a few updates on that. First, we had our 2023 annual report from the department, so I'd imagine that's going to be on our website if anybody would like to check it out. Lots of good information on their progress from last year. We talked a little bit about the grade separated crossing here at the train tracks, and a quick update on our CIP projects as well. And I just, obviously there's that big report that's on the website, but a few highlights from it that I think we wanted to share. From the fleet division, about a year ago or so, we switched fuel providers and we were able to join a cooperative with DuPage County, and our projected savings, I was shocked to hear, is about $50,000 a year to the village. That was a big win, and it's a special thanks to Arnie Berg. Hopefully he's watching and isn't having too much fun watching basketball, but he approached me about it, and I mentioned this before, but the manager and public works director jumped on it right away, and we appreciate those ideas. That really was a help. Forestry, I thought this was kind of cool. Pocket parks, for those that aren't familiar, they're temporary, kind of quick and easy parks that you can put on vacant properties. So we have 4 potential locations. We're going to be looking at those in the very near future, so I appreciate our foresters' involvement in that. Let's see, Water Division, we're down to about 250 lead lines, which we're getting real close to that EPA requirement. And then last, but definitely not least, I think this is probably the highest grant that I've ever heard that the village has gotten. But for the North Water Tower, and a water main project on Warwick, $500,000, we'll call it a grant, but that's ideally what it is, for the water main project, and a $1.65 million grant for the North Water Tower project, thanks to our friends at the state. So they'd always get a good rap. man, they did today. That was great news, and it sounds like from our manager, that's probably the first one in about 15 to 20 years, so kind of cool. So congrats to the Public Works team and Amy's leadership to bring that to fruition. And that is all I have on the updates from the meeting. I mean, just think about it, it's over $2 million, so.
That should make up for the
kind of a big
sales
deal.
tax on grocery that.
That's right, so they're buttering us up, I guess. Adopt a Planner, sign up for the program to adopt a planner program that's happening in the downtown business district. Registration is still available on the village websites. Should you sign up, participants will be contacted mid-May with more information and instructions. Tree seeding giveaway, still can sign up online to request and receive various tree seeding species in time for Arbor Day. The pickup will be April 26th at the Westmont Library, 1 to 5 p.m. And then lastly, if you want any questions on construction updates, the website has been updated with all the projects happening around town, so please check it out. And that is all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Simonovich, Police Public Safety.
Thank you. Our next Police Public Safety Committee meeting will be on April 18th at 4:30 here in this room. The Police Department is hosting a paper shred fundraiser for Special Olympics on April 13th at the Police Department at 500 North Cass Avenue. Details are on the village website. They are also hosting a DEA Drug Take-Back Day, April 27th. That's at 2 locations, the Police Department at 500 North Cass Avenue, as well as at Mariano's on 63rd Street. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Brady, Community
Thank you,
Development.
sir. The next Community Development Committee meeting is scheduled for May 2nd on Thursday at the Village Hall. 2 items were presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission on March 13th. Both of these items are on the board agenda tonight. They are a new medical office building at the former Bohemian Crystal / Bakerfield property, which is on Blackhawk and Ogden. And also, new townhouse development is being developed, as will be discussed tonight, at 2226 West Burlington. That's what I have, sir.
Thank you. Trustee Johanna Guzzo, Fire Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next Fire Public Safety Committee meeting will be June 13th, 4:30 here at Village Hall. Everyone is invited to attend. There was severe weather training. Several village staff participated in a severe weather training this past week. I want to thank the Westmont EMA for hosting this event. Then Premise Alert and Smart 911. A news release regarding the Premise Alert program and the Smart 911 program has been posted on the village website. These programs allow residents to provide detailed personal information to our 911 dispatch and first responders so that they are aware of any specific situations with the household or a person experiencing an emergency, such as a specific medical condition or other special needs. Visit the website for more information. And there are 2 more weeks to visit the Knights of Columbus, 25 North Cass Avenue, this Friday and next Friday for their fish fry. It's from 5 to 8, and the public is invited to attend. Thank you, Mayor.
Yep, thank you. Trustee Barker, Environmental Improvement Committee, and our Westmont First Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. The Environmental Improvement Committee will meet April 1st, 5:30 here at Village Hall. We have a recycling and more event coming up out here in front of Village Hall. There'll be 2 events this year, and the first one is April 6th, and the second one is November 23rd. The complete details have been published on the village website. The EIC 2023 Annual Report and 2024 Goals, the EIC is working on that, and we are going to do that report hopefully in the first part of April here at the committee meeting. And that's it. Admin Finance Committee, maybe early part of April. And then the library has a garden expo on April 27th, and the details are also on the village website. That is all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Little, Administration and Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next Administration Finance Committee meeting will be held April the 4th, 4:30, right here in Village Hall. The village is accepting applications for several positions, including police officers and water operator. For more details on all these positions and how to apply, please visit the Employment Opportunities section of the village website. Spring and summer community programs and events. I'm getting ready for those car shows. They're not here yet, but they're getting close. A news release was published on the website today highlighting a number of community programs and events for this spring and summer. Visit westmont.illinois.gov for more information. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We'll move on to items to be removed from the consent agenda. If no one has any, I'd ask Manager May to please read the consent agenda.
Thank you. This evening, the consent agenda begins with the village board minutes. Board to consider approving the minutes of the village board meeting held March 7th, 2024. Next is finance ordinance number 24 in the amount of $1,780,641.68. We have 4 purchase orders. First one's DuPage County, $56,408.60. This is for both the ETSB or DUGIS. It's for the record management system. It's an annual amount. Next is Tyler Technologies, also an annual support for the EnerGov system. Third purchase order, Alta Enterprises LLC, $117,282.70 for an Avant loader. As in the next purchase order, Burris Equipment Company, $35,856 is for the Ventrac tractor. And then with the attachments are part of that initial purchase as well. The total of the purchase orders is $242,622.30, and together with finance ordinance number 24 equals $2,023,263.98. We have 2 community events. First is board to consider an ordinance approving the following requests for the 2024 Race to the Flag 5K to be held on May 19th, 2024. This includes the community events permit, including street closures, and then second, the live amplified sound permit. The next event is board to consider a motion awarding a hotel motel grant request in the amount of $2,500 to the Westmont Lions Foundation for the 2024 Westmont Lions Foundation Spring Fling Festival. And that's the consent agenda this evening, Mayor.
Do I have a motion to approve as read?
Motion to approve is read. Little?
Brady, second.
Motion made and second. Any comments? Only thing I could say is the 2 special community events are the same as last year. That's why they're on the consent agenda. So there's been no changes, or else it would have been a separate agenda item. Seeing no other questions, I'd ask for a roll call, please.
Trustee Barker,
Yes.
Trustee Brady,
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo,
Yes.
Trustee Little,
Yes.
Trustee Nero,
Yes.
Trustee Simonovic.
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll move on to new business, Advocate Outpatient Center. Board to consider approval of an ordinance approving request from Advocate Health and Hospitals Corporation for a medical outpatient center at 330 East Ogden Avenue and 639 Blackhawk Drive, Westmont, Illinois, for the following. 1, zoning ordinance variance request to permit outdoor lighting in excess of illumination standards. 2, site and landscaping plan approval. 3, preliminary plan and final plat of subdivision to consolidate 2 lots into 1 lot. 4, parking stall size waiver. And 5, foundation landscaping waiver. Director Hennerfein.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Board. So what's before you tonight is the former locations of both Bohemian Crystal and the Bakersfield Restaurant. We're all very familiar with that property. If you know it well, you know that between these properties, one fronts to Ogden Avenue, one fronts to Blackhawk, and then we've got Chipotle and Wendy's kind of squeezed in at the intersection there as well. So what's being proposed is an Advocate Health outpatient center. So it's a medical office. It's 2 stories. It's about 40,000 square feet. The building itself would sit on the forward-facing parcel that is closest to Ogden. Very similar to where Bakersfield sat, but a much bigger building. And then the parking would exist in the backside of the lot along Blackhawk, which would be the parking that serves that. So the actual entrance to the building is off of Blackhawk, right at the northeast corner, right there where those 2 L-shaped parcels meet. What is being requested for a variance is, the first thing is a lighting variance. We don't see these very often. We saw one most recently, I think, for Fifth Third when they moved in to their location on Pasquinelli. The Village of Westmont allows very generous setbacks for parking lots. You can put them basically 4 feet from the property lines. Sometimes when you have illumination standards in the parking lot, it's very difficult to get your lighting to meet what we call 0-foot candles at the lot line. The perfect scenario is that there's no light that encroaches off the property. The petitioner was not able to design the parking lot in order to do that. It does have all the required landscape screening around the parking lot. However, there were a few areas where just 5 or 10 feet off the parking lot, they couldn't meet 0. It does diminish to 0 within close proximity. Whenever we're looking at this, we want to be hypersensitive if it's a residential lot. In this case, it's all commercial lots around it, and there's a little spillage onto the Blackhawk side, but it actually diminishes by the time you hit the sidewalk on Blackhawk, so it doesn't actually encroach all the way out into the street. Site and landscape approval is required, which site and landscape approval is always the site plan, a landscape plan, and then we also adopt the elevations. So the elevations that were shown to planning and zoning and are in your packet will have to be constructed, so if they show us a whole elevation of brick, they can't value engineer it when it comes in for permits and suddenly come in with a different material. There are a preliminary and final plat of subdivision. These are 2 lots right now. They need to be combined into 1. It's a little bit complicated. There are some easements, some deed restrictions that were placed on these properties back when it was Red Lobster, which is a very long time ago. Those still need to get removed, so if you've looked at the draft ordinance or when you see the ordinance, there is a provision on there that says those previous easements that the petitioner is working at getting removed legally would still have to be removed for us to approve the plat and record the plat.
Not to approve it, but you're gonna, if you approve it tonight, it would be, the village won't sign it and record it until those easements are
Okay,
approved.
I apologize, thank you. There are 2 waivers that are requested. So waivers are sometimes discussed at planning and zoning, but waivers are a request to waive the code, not a zoning code. That is at the board discretion. 2 requested are parking stall size waiver. Our typical parking stall spaces are 10 by 20. We do have exceptions for what we consider long-term parking, so offices, that can be 9 by 18. In this case, the request is to keep these at 9 by 18. The makeup of this building is so many employees and so many patients that come in. It's about 50-50 would be my best guess. We did look when Dooley, which is our most recent medical office building that's compared to this, they also requested that waiver for 9 by 18 spaces, and were granted that just as a precedent. And then the last is a foundation landscaping waiver. So if you look at the site plan, there is a fire access lane that comes from Ogden Avenue up by the building. We have a requirement that around the building, there is supposed to be a 6-foot wide swath of landscaping around the entirety of the building. Where this fire access lane, which is required to be there, is they're asking for a 1.5-foot waiver. So they're doing 4.5 feet of landscape. There's just not enough space to get our perimeter landscape up against Wendy's, the width of the fire access aisle, and the full 4.5, or the full 6 feet. So that is the last request. This was a unanimous positive recommendation from the planning and zoning. I do have the petitioners here tonight and can answer any questions that you may have.
Bring him up.
Okay?
Excuse me, I got a question.
Yes.
I'm familiar with drawings, but this 8.5 by 11 is difficult to follow. Okay. Just want to let you know.
And they put it up.
The patients and employees, they would come into the parking lot. How would they, can you make a left turn from the west to go east into the parking? Go north, of course. Is that going to be tapered somehow? You know what I'm saying, as you pull in
First, Trustee Brady,
from
I
Ogden
brought a
Avenue.
larger one. I'm going to put it under the screen so everyone can see it.
You have to wiggle your fingers now, and then it'll, see?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
So this is the building here. This is a fire access lane off Ogden. That is
Okay.
no access for the public. That is, it will be marked with signage that it is for emergency access only. Everyone has to enter off of Blackhawk over here through one of these two.
Okay.
It would circulate into the parking lot, and the front door to the building is right here. Now, I missed your whole question. Does that answer your question?
Where,
So your pen is, that's the entrance to the building right
The
there?
entrance to the building is right here.
It's not
at
going to
this-
be entrance on Ogden,
Off of
I mean,
Black.
building it, but it's going to be off the parking lot. Okay.
Yes, so when you
Makes a lot
pull
of
into the
sense for
parking lot,
security.
you will see the front entry of the building.
where is the lane right now where you go, like, into the Wendy's? Is that,
Wendy's, this is their drive-through lane right here. So you can see this curb cut here, that's Wendy's entrance.
into, and then, but I mean, and then off of Black Hawk, it
Yes,
runs
so this is
around there.
Wendy's drive
Okay.
right here.
Back to Black Hawk, okay. And is that fire lane a go-through, or do they have to back out of that?
No, there is a mountable curb here at Ogden, and then there's a mountable curb here. The idea is that they would come all the way through.
Okay.
The fire department just wanted quick access into this site, because this is also where the ambulance trips would come in as well.
What's the width on that?
20 feet,
20 feet.
as agreed with the fire department.
I will let you speak.
Another question. It shows in one of the sheets here, you're going to expand possibly the south end of the building in the future?
That's correct, along Ogden Avenue face. We've set the building back far enough to allow for expansion.
Oh, I see. So you bring it, how close would that be to the sidewalk in the street then?
It's like 20 feet, there's a setback, 30 feet.
The current building, I believe, is set back 85 feet, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, the current building is 85 feet back from the property line.
Okay.
If they expand it, they can't come any closer than 30 feet.
That's what I was looking for. It's just
And-
kind of
and-
vague when you read this, okay?
And they're not, the second phase is not yet proposed. That's just for your information, because what they would have to do if they did that expansion, they would have to bury all of the stormwater, which right now is in front of the building.
Okay, another question.
Yes.
I don't see anything here about signage. You're going to have a sign on the building or outside, or how's that going to work?
Yes, sir, we plan 2 signs, one on each face of the building facing Ogden and one facing Black Hawk. We have to come back for permitting.
Will they illuminated sign or just a fixed sign? or-
Illuminated, there's a monument sign on the ground, and we propose, right now, we're proposing one on each face of the building up high, so they
I
can be
see.
seen.
Okay.
And a smaller monument off the Black Hawk entrance.
Well, we both know Ogden Avenue is a very popular street, and very few items I see on Ogden Avenue is buildings with American flags. Be nice if you can put American flag out in the building also, to dress up the area.
Or a pole somewhere on site? That's what you're looking for?
somewhere on site.
Nowadays, people are not very patriotic, I'll tell you that. It's the honest truth. I'm not criticizing, just saying that it's an idea that's something for you to think about.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we need you to introduce yourself, and then why don't you talk about your project, and then everybody will have questions.
Sure. My name's Brad Mayer. I am a manager, construction, planning, design, and construction with Advocate Healthcare. And our office is at 2025 Windsor Drive in Oak Brook, Illinois. We're proposing the 40,000 square foot building, multiple specialties, imaging, x-ray, mammography, ortho sports medicine, and those are just some of the specialties. All access would be from the northwest corner of the building. Circulation, we felt, would be easiest and best around the Black Hawk entries. There's currently 3 entrances on Black Hawk with the existing condition. We're going to reduce that down to 2. We've done traffic studies and worked with Mr. Hennepin's team to meet requirements and have lots of discussions with them. Our phasing plan, we're initially planning the building with a potential for future expansion. We typically do this with our buildings. If it's successful in the community, then we want to increase and provide more to the community. The elevations of the building, we have brick, we have cast stone, and we have some metal siding. So it's all over the building, and aluminum frame windows.
We heard a lot from PNC who broke this down for us, that there was a lot of suggestions on that Ogden Avenue entrance or exit, but they didn't recommend any of them. So
There was a lot of discussion about the fire access that came off Ogden. And how do you stop or prevent anyone from using it? The fire department has said that it's required. The first request from the fire department was a gate. The gate has its own issues. If you place it there and someone pulls into it and you can't open the gate because it would be an automatic gate, then you'd have to back out into Ogden Avenue in order to get out. There was some discussion with some of our commissioners and recommendations that maybe there should be some speed bumps that go through there. The concern there was we didn't, at Planning and Zoning, have any information as to can the fire equipment and emergency equipment tolerate the speed bumps, and will that actually benefit? But ultimately, even though many of these things were discussed, the motion was not amended to ask for any additional recommendations. So the site plan as proposed was the one that was voted on and the one that received the positive recommendation.
So will there be do not enter signs at?
Yeah, there will be do not enter signs, emergency only. I can be corrected, but I believe if someone mistakenly pulls in there, they can still pull all the way through to get to the other side.
The other thing to add to that is Ogden Avenue is an IDOT-controlled street, so we're also applying to IDOT to reduce from 2 entrances down to 1 for that emergency access, and they'll have a lot more to say about it also.
Question maybe for the attorney. John, I'm kind of familiar, like in shopping malls, you can't get a speeding ticket kind of thing. Do we need to get special permission from advocate if it becomes a problem so police can enforce private property?
Yeah, we could do a parking lot enforcement agreement or something similar, and several shopping centers have those agreements that would allow the police department to monitor and write tickets.
Might not be a bad idea. I don't know if it's a problem, but it'd be nice to have something, and I'm sure they'd be open to it in case it became one. I don't
Especially
know.
if a car parks in the fire lane.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So that would be signage with ordinances and listing ordinances that tickets could be issued. That's my understanding of it.
And that's not something we need to do tonight. We can
No.
approve that late when it's on the agenda. Okay.
Plus you can use
Trustee
pavements that
Barker.
don't look like pavements.
Just, hours of operation,
Oh, that was my question.
Currently, we're setting hours from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's not confirmed yet, but that's what we would ask for. And then Saturday hours, because we're sports medicine, there's, immediate care clinic type for ortho, for imaging, those kinds of things. And that's probably a 7 a.m. Saturday to 3 p.m.
okay, so you can be a leader here in the community. I chair the Environmental Improvement Committee for Westmont. If you can dim those parking lot lights down after 8 p.m. or turn them off at some point in the night, you'd be the first person on Ogden Avenue to do that. So we would appreciate
They
it.
will be on timer. And I will also add energy sustainability. We are planning solar panels on the roof.
Great.
Thank you.
Maybe it's a question for you. The parking lot entrance right now at the, I'd say it's the northwest corner, it's below grade, it's crushed. It's been crushed for several years. Whose responsibility to replace it from the sidewalk to the street? Is that the village? Because it's unusable. It's,
I believe that
Wait for years.
because they're doing the construction, they're typically required to do all the public
they
improvements.
may have to widen it
and- and-
also.
and
I
the-
don't think it's.
Usually the
proper
fixes
or-
come under the developer.
Okay, just,
Yeah, we're
Bring it
committed to,
attention.
we realize that right now. We've driven across it just with our own vehicles. And yes, a lot of the sidewalk would have to be replaced. A lot of utilities are along that area. We realize we'll be putting in some more or rerouting, and that'll cause the sidewalks to be replaced. And the drive lanes, eliminating the one, and reorganizing all that on Blackhawk.
thank you.
Your immediate care is only going to be for the specialty? It's not like go and get COVID test or,
It probably will entail those other specialties.
How tall is the building going to be?
It's 2 stories. You have a,
It's 30.
come up to the microphone so we can hear you. And first you got to tell us who you are, so.
My name is Zach Reese, landscape architect with HDR Engineering. I believe it should be in the packet as well, but it's around 30 feet,
okay.
2 stories, about 15 feet for each floor.
Thank you.
And again, I know it's in the packet, but it's a good time for us to ask questions. How many parking spots do you have? Oh, Joe knows.
Put me on the spot. I believe it's right around 200. I believe that they were over-parked by 20 or 30 spaces. Now-
215.
Ooh, a good guess.
And how many are employees do you anticipate? 50%?
It's generally, the last numbers I heard were 60 employees full-time at the site, and we're expecting over 100 patients a day.
Okay, so adequate parking, yes.
Oh, sorry, did you have another one?
No, just said adequate parking.
I guess another thing, I'm just back to the fire lane situation, but like where that runs next to the entrance of the building, I can see that entrance to the building there, that curve being a kind of a patient drop-off point, and that kind of seems to conflict with that exit for the fire lane as well. Are we concerned about people blocking that in that area, dropping people off at the door?
I'm sure everybody's concerned. We'll put signage as our best effort right now.
So typically for these advocate clinics, we stage the drop-off lane for 2 cars at a time. If you include kind of the half-moon shape that is taken up by the emergency access drive, that's more than 2 cars typically. The other thing that I will say is one of the other benefits of having as emergency access lane only, we don't have cars coming through there where there's people trying to drop off and then pedestrians coming specifically from the accessible parking. So that was an attempt to deconflict as much as possible, given the fact that the site is a challenging shape, the dog leg.
Have you thought about those rubber posts like they use in cul-de-sacs that emergency vehicles can drive over and they pop right back up? But a little better than a sign, I don't know, I just
Well,
thinking.
we're willing to consider that, but it's also acceptance from the building department. I mean, we're willing to consider that.
It's a good idea.
It's a great project.
Yeah. I know we get a lot of gripe, a lot of medical facilities, but I tell you, if you ever been in the Doolies, I mean, I was just super impressed with all the facilities that they have in town, and this seems like another good advantage to bring here locally, so I think it's great.
The waiver of 1.5 feet of landscaping, I think that's what Director Hennerfein said. Are you going to take that 1.5 feet and enhance the other? What additional landscaping?
Can we get some bushes somewhere else?
Yeah, we want more landscaping.
They, Mr. Mayor, they actually did increase the landscape in the section between Wendy's and the drive aisle to compensate for, so they added a bunch of plants, if you look at the landscape plan, to compensate for that.
Sorry, I have another one.
Sorry, I was going to say, we do have more shrubs than are required by the Code of Ordinances, and we are beyond the percentage requirement as well, in terms of total landscape. So that would be ground cover, wildflowers, perennials, shrubs, not your turf.
And there is a requirement in the ordinance approving this project, if it is approved, that all landscaping has to be continually maintained, repaired, replaced as necessary. So if a bush or shrub or tree dies, you have to replace it.
Right, yeah, and that'll be something that we're going to incorporate into our specifications along with the construction documents. I believe that's 3 years for the actual maintenance period, but that's standard for all the advocate clinics.
I know this question was, and you addressed it at that P&Z. The east portion looks better than the building, and you,
South facade.
the south facade than the one facing Ogden.
The west portion of the building is brick and glass and stone. The southern portion facing Ogden is a combination, mostly metal siding, architectural metal siding, and that's because of our planned expansion. And we have submitted some examples for future that would entail more cast stone, more brick to enhance that Ogden-facing area. I can't give you a timeline on how long it'll take to get to the expansion, but some of our other facilities, we've expanded in 2 years, and some have taken 5 years.
I just thought it'd be good for you to answer that here.
And it was pointed out at the public hearing that it's less of an impact because it's set 85 feet back and has landscaping that will mature and block some of that facade that faces Ogden.
And I think,
So that was my question, was kind of about that landscaping in that area on the south end, because right now that's where kind of the water retention is going, and I just am concerned that it's just kind of gonna look like a weedy overgrowth. Like in the picture, it just kind of looks like some tall grasses, and I know we've done some really nice things lately trying to beautify some of these water retention areas with landscaping, and there just doesn't seem to be a lot there in the pictures.
So immediately adjacent to the building itself, there's 6 feet of shrubs, ground cover, perennials, and then south of that, in that water retention area, is a type of planting that is, I guess, most comparable to a native prairie in terms of providing plants within there that can do well within periods of inundation of water, but also when it dries out, because the intent is that those don't have standing water for more than, say, 48 hours. So within there, it would be a mix of wildflowers for interest, but also a decent proportion, percentage-wise, is your native grasses, because they do the best in there. Those would be kind of like your kind of like wheat-looking grasses, kind of like the brownish, tannish ones. These one would be like sedges, which are, they typically have a wider width in terms of the grass blade. And there's a variety of different colors that those come in that we've mixed in there.
and I think you answered it, it's a detention, so it's not gonna hold water more than the 48 hours or whatever.
That's the intent.
Correct, yeah.
I have another question. You're asking for a variance to permit outdoor lighting in excess of illumination standards. Several years ago, before any of us were on this board, Toyota on Ogden Avenue, which is further east, they put in so much heavy lighting, it was out into the streets, and I know there's no residents in this area. So is this going to be a new type of lighting that we're going to put in? I know standards have changed since then.
So it is dark sky compliant, so there is a cutoff, so the light
be down?
predominantly only
I
comes
see.
onto our
Okay.
site itself. I will say that the .1 that goes off of our site boundary itself, like Brad was saying, less than 5 feet, .1 is the same as a full moon. So
Thank
to
you.
give you an idea of what that is.
I need a motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve, Nero.
Second, Little?
Motion been made in second. Additional, anybody from the audience have a question? Any other board member? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich?
Yes.
Trustee Little?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Motion passes. We look forward to the new building. When do
Thank you.
you start digging? Or
It's our intent to submit plans for permits in the next 2 weeks. Hopes that with review and everything, we could be in the ground in July.
Good.
We have a lot of utilities to relocate, so we'll be approaching and working with the building department to get that going.
Good.
I also want to add, thank you, your building department, whole team, staff have been great to work with, as along with the fire department.
Oh, good.
Can you
Well, thank
repeat that, please?
Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
Directly into the light.
The fire department has been great to work with also, and the building department.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Stay up there, Joe. We'll move on to new business B, West Burlington Place Townhomes, 22 and 26 West Burlington Avenue. Board to consider an ordinance approving request from OSRX Enterprises LLC, who is the petitioner, and Millennium Trust Company LLC, which is the owner, for a 6-unit townhouse project at 22 and 26 West Burlington Avenue for the following. 1, zoning ordinance variance to allow a driveway to encroach into a required 3-foot yard setback for a driveway. 2, zoning ordinance variance to the required lot areas per building and per dwelling in the R5 General Residence District. 3, zoning ordinance variance to the required front yard setback in the R5 General Residence District. 4, zoning ordinance variance to the required side yard adjoining a street setback in the R5 General Residence District. 5, zoning ordinance variance to the required rear yard setback in the R5 General Residence District. 6, site and landscape plan approval. 7, preliminary and final plat of subdivision to re-subdivide 2 lots into 7 lots. 8, fee waiver for the right-of-way permit fees for parkway tree removal. And 9, fee waiver from the cash in lieu contribution for required alley improvements. And I got Director Henderfine.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Board. So this was the second case that was heard at Planning and Zoning in March, on March 13th. So if you're not familiar with this property, it's right outside the window. So this is the green lots that are across the tracks on Burlington. What's before you tonight is essentially it is a 6-unit townhome development. It is L-shaped. They've got 3 units that face onto Burlington and 3 units that face towards Lincoln. This is R5 zoning. Our R5 zoning is fairly restrictive when it comes to higher dense projects. We have R5 zoning throughout the village. We have it all the way up as high as 35th Street. We've got it all the way down, I think, as far south as 61st Street. So there are many different properties zoned R5. This is closer to the downtown. So what's being requested, and I'll try to do this in the order that it was done, and I did put the site plan just so everyone can see and understand what I'm saying. The first one is a zoning ordinance variance for a driveway to encroach into the required 3-foot side yard setback. So these are townhomes. These are for sale townhomes, so they're creating lots to sell. The corner unit, which is here, doesn't have access to behind the building with a garage like every other unit. So back here is the driveway. Most of these units have a 2-car garage that are off this rear driveway. There is no way to access a garage with this corner unit, so they have brought one driveway that is out to Lincoln. That driveway is required to be 30 feet behind the sidewalk, so anyone that's stopping at the stop sign, there's a distance requirement that needed to be met. Staff worked with them to make sure the driveway was deep enough to actually hold the depth of a car so that no car bumpers were blocking the sidewalk. But there is a property line because there's a townhouse right next to it, and that driveway is only 1.5 feet from the property line. So it doesn't meet a minimum requirement of 3 feet. That's their first variance request. The next 3 are all setback requests. So in this district, to both Burlington, which we call the front, and to Lincoln, which we call the side yard adjoining a street, those are 25-foot required setbacks. So to Burlington, it gets as close as 12.33 feet. So they have tried to undulate and step the front of the building, so it kind of varies in their construction. The closest it gets is 12.33 feet. Over here on North Lincoln Avenue, the closest it gets is 15.34 feet. What the petitioner has stated in their materials is they have somewhat met the setback to the apartment building that is on Burlington, and although it's not shown here, has a very similar setback to the home that is on the north side of the alley on Lincoln. So those were the 2 setbacks to the street, and then there is a setback to the rear yard. Rear yard, if Burlington's the front, the rear yard is the alley. There typically is a 20% of lot depth, which works out to be about 27 feet is the rear yard requirement. They are asking for 6. So if you notice, here is it says lot 6 here. This is a townhouse unit. They are asking for 6 feet between that townhouse unit and the property line. That request is approximately, the building is about 40 feet wide at this point. So the lot is 100 feet wide, the building itself is 40 feet wide. So that request to be 6 feet away is not for the whole continuous 100 feet that is there. There is a request for site and landscape approval. Like I stated on the last one, that would be the site plan, the elevations to guarantee the materials, and then also the landscape plan as well. Preliminary and final plat of subdivision, so there's 2 underlying lots right now. They need to reconfigure that into 7 lots. You might ask, why are there 7 lots instead of 6, if there's 6 townhouses? The stormwater for this property is underneath this rear driveway, so that would be retained by the HOA and maintained by the HOA. So that lot would be under common ownership, and the owners would pay fees to the HOA to make sure that's maintained. There are 2 things that weren't considered for planning and zoning because they're both waivers. These both are for relief from fees. So any subdivision in town requires public improvements. In this case, there is the alley that's behind it. You heard earlier tonight at the Public Works Committee that there are plans to eventually do that. So we have had the Public Works Director first issue a decision that cash in lieu is preferred in this case. In this case, they're asking for relief from that cash in lieu. I think you heard that it's approximately 5 years, maybe more, before that alley is actually fully reconstructed. The second waiver that they're asking for is that driveway that we discussed earlier. They would have to remove 1 parkway tree, and there are fees associated with that parkway tree removal. They're asking for relief as well. This project is in the downtown TIF. It's in the TIF district. The petitioners did initially say, ask the village, can we structure a TIF agreement? Because we're in the downtown TIF. TIF agreements on fully residential properties are very difficult to structure, and it was not the village's preference to structure a TIF agreement in this case. And these properties ultimately will be sold off once they're built, and most of those TIF agreements have a benefit over time. So if the developer is building a for-sale project, they wouldn't reap the benefit of that TIF agreement. I have the petitioners here. I didn't cover everything. I'm happy to. And I'm sure you have questions, and I'm happy to answer them.
Well, why don't we bring the petitioners up and make their presentation? You want to hear them, or?
Asking for 2 waivers, excuse me,
Go ahead.
asking for 2 waivers. What will be the cost of removing the tree? That's for the driveway, correct?
Correct. The initial estimate, if you remember, we modified our tree code probably 3 months ago. Initial estimate was approximately $3,500. That has been reassessed at $18,800 with the new calculation method.
And what about the second waiver regarding the alley?
The alley is $650 per linear foot, which comes out to be $67,581.
Want to repeat that? How much?
$67,581.
So we're asking the person building this to pay $67,000 for the alley?
That is the calculation, yes.
Whoa, that's some big bucks. I would make a proposal to waive the fee for the tree, $3,500, and the village pay the cost.
Well,
I'll
we're
make that
gonna-
motion.
We're gonna, we should do that after we.
Yeah, so that's part of the,
Request
that's
already.
an agenda item that you'll be voting on.
Yes.
The
It's
request
built into
is-
the request already.
Yeah, the request is to approve all of these requests in one ordinance. If any trustee wants to pull out one or both of the fee waiver requests and vote on them separately, that's your right. But right now, they're listed all as one voting item.
Trustee Simonovich,
I did have a question for Mr. Henderfine. I didn't know if you wanted the petitioner to make their presentation first.
we
or-
started, mine's last job.
Okay.
We already started.
Did planning and zoning have any concerns about that 6-foot setback when it comes time to redoing that alley and the space they need to get in there to do that?
I have a non-answer for you. but I'll try to do my best. First, I didn't tell anyone what the decision of planning and zoning was, so I think that's important. It was a 4-3 decision, so it was a positive recommendation, but it was, this project was debated at planning and zoning. There were questions raised on the setback itself. I wouldn't say there was great debate on the setback. However, I don't think anyone specifically brought up anything about the difficulty in rebuilding the alley based on how close it was. The resident that lives in the house to the north did speak.
To the north.
North of this, so the house that is right
Here, okay.
did speak, and he had great concerns because it sounds like we've been in that alley many times to do repairs. And his greatest issue was, how much is this alley going to be disrupted? And he was encouraged to hear that there were plans to fix it permanently. But he did speak against the request because of his close proximity.
I did spend many years living off of that alley, that gravel alley, so yes, I'm well aware.
To further answer that question, with the 6-foot rear yard setback in that area, the only, I guess, concerns raised by some members of the Planning and Zoning Commission had to do with snow removal, and
Well, yeah, where's it gonna go if the trash cans are
the
there?
applicants who
and-
certainly can answer this themselves, but they did explain where snow removal would go.
Okay,
To the satisfaction of the majority of Planning and Zoning Commission, but there was nothing raised about how the setback could in any way adversely impact future alley improvements.
and I had a second question, if that, do you wanna
No, go ahead. I
Okay.
usually call the petitioners up to
My
answer
second
questions.
question was, I see here, there's only 5 trash bins and 6 units. Is lot 3 gonna have their trash on their little concrete driveway that they have on the other side? Because it's not placed there at all on this drawing.
What the petitioner provided to us was a draft document of the restrictive covenants that any common ownership HOA would have. What they've indicated there is that the trash bins that are over here, number 1, would be brought out on trash day. And so they've shown 10 over here to serve the 5 units that access from behind. And they've indicated that this unit over here would put their trash out like other homeowners. Now
Okay.
granted, the trash service would have to know that they put those out there. But the idea was that this unit just would wheel them out of their garage this way, and all the other units would wheel them out of their garages over here.
So these bins are gonna be like kept in their garages or something and wheeled out on trash day, assuming that area is clear of snow for these bins to fit?
Yes.
Okay.
Very early on, they were proposing a dumpster, and it was in this corner over here, and it just did not work out well spatially. And we encouraged them to look at, well, we asked them to say, well, are these townhouses really going to use a dumpster, or would they rather have their own personal bin for recycling and for trash? And this was their best solution. And they actually, initially, the pad was much smaller. It's a concrete pad that
It is
they
a
put them on
concrete
top
pad.
of.
Okay.
And staff requested that they show actually a pad large enough to hold everyone's trash. But the idea is that it's not out there all the time.
Can we get the petitioner up
Yes.
there, maybe? It
I'm
sounds like
happy to.
we're going to call you back up.
Okay,
But I'd
I'll
like
be
the
in proximity.
petitioner to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit more about the project.
Good evening. Ellie Stevens.
Greg Stevens.
So we were looking for an area to do a small development. Then we found the progressive village of Westmont.
Can you talk a little bit louder for us?
Yeah.
I'm right next to you and I'm having trouble hearing, so I don't know if anyone else can.
Should I start over? Okay. We were looking for an area to do a small development. Then we found the progressive village of Westmont, and we found a lot. And then we looked at the master plan for the area around that lot. And the master plan was looking for increased density because it was near the downtown area. And it looks like this lot has been looking for a developer. It's been vacant for 20 years and just haven't had the right developer. And I think maybe we're the right developer. I don't know, you'll have to tell us. But we took the approach that we did our design around the lot, not vice versa. And we were very sensitive to the area around as far as density and setbacks. So we're right in line with what's immediately around us. The property is a beautiful architectural building, and it's on trend with surrounding areas. And the zoning committee, they applauded and complimented the design unanimously. So they loved that. Our target audience is going to be people who want to live by the train. Not everybody wants to live by the train, but we went and drove down Burlington Avenue, and literally there's thousands of units of people who want to live by the train. So we looked at, so there's a audience, and there's a someone who would want to buy our units. We don't want to build something by the train, and someone doesn't want the train. But there's, thousands of units there. Our target audience is we're thinking is probably going to be someone who works downtown, probably in the medical field, legal field, many job opportunities for those downtown. Westmont has A-rated school district, so now the children can benefit. These individuals are very busy, and so they don't want a single-family home. They want convenience. They probably maybe only have one car or maybe no cars. I mean, that's kind of the, the trend. Relief is necessary because of the small scope of the project. The additional fees aren't proportional to the size of the lot, which, and so there's no way to pass that on because it's just, just a few units. For example, the townhouse on Quincy, just down the street, sold a few months ago for $590,000. It took many months to sell in a hot market. That's because originally they had it priced around $700,000. So what that told us was, the market's telling us, no, that's too high. So in real estate, you don't know what something will sell for, but you surely know what something won't sell for. So that's too high. So that's one of the reasons for relief. We want to have these homes for sale that are affordable for people that's commensurate with what will sell in the area.
The ownership and association, what about rentals? Once someone owns it, is there going to be some things in the homeowner association that says so many cannot be like?
Yeah, we can put that in, and we thought about that, and we definitely want this. I mean, they're luxury townhomes. I would think someone would want to buy it and rent it. I wouldn't think so, but I mean, they might. But it's definitely, would have to be long-term, because they'd have a vested interest in taking care of the property.
Yeah.
I would hope not, but we could put language in there, maybe a year or 2 years, something to kind of keep that for ownership.
And that's one thing that I was happy when I did start to look at this, they weren't rentals.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to say it's a concern, but are there going to be things in place if it's approved tonight with the construction, because I know garbage comes down the alley, are there going to be things in place so that we have a limited disruption to the residents that do use that alley? I don't know if
Yeah, we're going to have to figure that out with the village, and kind of had a few discussions, maybe off-site some of your property where things would go. We definitely would be mindful for that.
Before we ask any more, anybody in the audience want to address this? Come on up to the podium, state your name, and then the board can.
Hi, my name is Alex Kabaki, local resident Dover on South Wilmette. Just for the record, I'm in full support of this project, and it's increasing the density in the downtown area. I think it's going to be beneficial, and I have no connection to the project whatsoever, but I just think it's a good idea. My question is, with what we've seen with the housing situation in the United States of companies purchasing properties and things to then flip or resell, is there some sort of stipulation or protection that it's going to be bought by people who want to live there and not someone who's trying to take advantage of the market or a company or corporation trying to do the same?
We would definitely,
You can answer it up to the microphone so we can.
Yeah. kind of vetting them and kind of look at their job. We're kind of looking for, because there's a lot of medical people downtown, nursing, doctors, any kind of staff that need to take the train to go downtown. And so you look for people with their jobs. So they would be, and then, the school district, I mean, I just think it's such a win for people like young, busy people that they have a good school district too. So it's not like so they're taking care of the kids and their convenience at the same time.
Can you address the snow removal situation?
Yeah.
I could do that.
Okay. That's where it would be stored.
Okay, right here.
Got it.
Is that concrete there, or what is the?
Green space.
The green space, okay.
Up in there, right?
Mayor?
Yes, I was going to answer.
Yeah, sure.
I appreciate you coming, but the only example, we have the north townhomes that went up by the library. I think all those are individually owned. I don't think a corporation or anybody bought it, so we're hoping that stays here too. But thank you for coming. Go ahead, trustee Barker.
Thank you, Mayor. So I watched P and Z, and I didn't get your background. Have you done this type of development before?
First time.
First time?
I'm a
Okay.
pharmacist. And
I'm an oral surgeon.
so we're kind of not.
You know, I do remember that now that you say that. I have sensitivity
You need a
to
tooth removed?
teeth. I wanted to compliment planning and zoning for the work that they did. They asked a lot of questions. There was a lot of back and forth there, and they didn't agree. But I did want to make the statement that I feel, after sitting here for almost 11 years now, and concerned about density and everything, I think housing as we know it is changing. It's not traditional anymore, and while we have that in our heads that, you want to own a home and you want to have a nice front yard and then, for everybody to see, and you want a beautiful backyard with a big patio and all that. That was my dream. That wasn't everybody else's dream. So I think we have to be open to the idea that housing is changing. What people are looking for is different now. And I had conversation that this is, closer to the sidewalk, up against the street, bigger density and all that. To me, that's, big cities, city of Chicago, or European model, where it's right up against the sidewalk and everything. It doesn't make it bad, it just makes it different, and the people that live there are happy about that. I thought the project was beautiful. I thought you overcame a lot of obstacles here in getting this to work. And I wish you the best if it passes. The only thing that scares me is you haven't done it before, right?
Well, we did, so we've both been in our profession for 40 years. So we're like, okay, retirement kind of people. Sit down. So we did get our real estate license, so we do know what we're doing. And
You're doing your homework.
Yes, we definitely.
Obviously, right.
And we're in conversations with builders and professionals. So I'm not worried about it being a success in that way. I'm more worried about it, being accepted.
We've reached out to Steve Vernon, who's built townhomes on Cass.
Yeah.
And we're in discussions with him about building this. So we're getting there.
Good.
How many square feet approximately are the units?
Anywhere from 1,900 to 2,300.
Thank you.
A total of about 3,000 if you count the garage, which is going to be an additional 500 square feet.
Is this your only project you got going right now?
We're in the works of something else that's down the road, because these things take a long time, so, yeah.
So they'll bet all their attention on this one, trustee
Yeah,
Barker.
Good, good.
I think it's exciting they're trying
it's
something
cool.
new.
I know,
I think that's cool.
Yeah, we find it exciting and beautiful, I mean.
Well, if I could say, retirement isn't what it's cracked up to be. Retired, we did the trip to Italy, golf 2-3 times a week, and we found ourselves saying, wait a second, this just doesn't feel right. Sitting and watching Oprah doesn't work.
Oprah's not on
And so
anymore.
that's where the real estate thing came in, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Well, I live up the street, and I look forward to this project.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The Burlington, I know that was a
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
And John Zemanek can correct me. Staff made an error I skipped over one of the variance requests, although you enumerated it when you spoke.
Did I skip it? No, you did. Okay, good.
So I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything for you folks. Because you brought up density, one of the requests are variance to the required lot areas per building and per dwelling. That is a density variance request. I'm happy to elaborate. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
I caught it at P and Z, Joe. You went on and on about that.
The chart in the packet was very helpful.
One of the biggest questions I got from my commissioners was, how does this compare? That is why the chart was put
great.
together.
Yeah. And
Sorry to interrupt.
master plan, it's the comp plan he's referring to, right? The comprehensive plan, they refer to the master plan, but it's
When they referred to the master plan, they're referring to the comprehensive plan, which has this as a sub-area, and it says that it's an area of higher density, specifically in proximity to Burlington and Cass, I think is the way it reads.
Thank you. I know there was initial early discussions on the Burlington side as far as any outdoor items that would be left there and the size of the fence. Is there any, Joe, is there any restrictions as far, you put a swimming pool, or is there any restrictions of,
Okay,
blow-up pool, right?
First, I'll explain that. So when this project first came in with this developer, they had an idea that everyone should have a piece of their own green space, and they had proposed a 6-foot fence around the front so that people could use and enjoy the yards that they had. Fencing is no longer a part of that. These would all be considered front yards. So just like anyone else's front yard, we have a subset of rules and regulations of what's allowed to encroach. That includes things like pools, and even gardens, I think, have a restriction on where they can be. But it would be regulated like anyone else's front yard, because these are front yards.
Good, I just wanted you to say that.
And the homeowner document that was prepared, was very detailed, was submitted to staff to review. And I can't recall if it does, but it may have restrictions on what can be left out in yards, like you can't put a couch out there and things like that.
For example, I think it actually got so specific, and that's not what we're approving tonight, but we asked them to illustrate how are you going to manage the property. I believe it even states that the car that would sit in that driveway can't sit there for longer than 12 hours, because they were trying to be sensitive that they didn't want someone just to park a car there and leave it. So.
Good night.
Mayor, just one last quick question. It's just on stormwater. Joe, if you could just maybe confirm from staff's perspective, I know it's been discussed, but I think for the public's knowledge, might be good to just understand the impact. It's vacant land now, and now it's going to have its own system on site and things, so it'd be nice to hear that.
Correct. So the stormwater system is an underground system that will exist under the rear drive area. And it holds a large quantity of water. And what happens right now is any water that hits, obviously some, because it's grass right now, will absorb, but anything that can't be absorbed sheets off. In this case, it captures all that water, it puts it down below ground, and then it releases it at a specific rate. So the benefit to the area is the flooding that we traditionally see at the tracks. It's holding that water so it doesn't just rush down towards that area. So it doesn't necessarily stop it, but it controls it so that it's released at a controlled rate.
Keeps it from aggravating.
And I'm not an engineer, and I don't play one on TV, so Steve can always correct me, so.
Thanks.
If, oh, go ahead.
That stormwater retention will hold 44,000 gallons of water.
And Joe, if you come back up by your yo-yos. We had this discussion prior, several weeks ago. If two single-family houses went in there, there'd be no stormwater requirement, right?
So there are 2 lots there right now. There used to be 2 houses there. So by right, someone could build a house on each of those lots. We have a lot coverage maximum of 35%, so they could build a house, have a driveway, and it would not invoke any of the stormwater requirements. So technically, 2 new homes could be built and not remedy any of the stormwater, if that's what was being built there. We wouldn't have any ability to require it.
Just want to point that out, so. Well, yes?
Sorry.
No,
I have a
keep
lot of
asking. No,
questions today.
good. You should have, P and Z was like 5 hours.
So I guess if we could have any further discussion about this fee regarding the alley, I think because some of the concerns that were brought up, right? What is the construction going to do to that alley that's already a rough gravel alley that we've had issues with? And we're the applicant's asking us to waive that fee. What is going to happen in terms of their responsibility for that alley as a result of the construction? Is it going to be in the same condition when they're done with their construction? Do they have a responsibility there?
Yes, so just the easiest comparable I can use is when 1 West Quincy was built.
Okay.
Obviously, they had to encroach into Cass Avenue, into Quincy, into the alley. There's a restoration that has to occur there. So it would be a dance to know when it needs closed, when they need to get into the utilities, how it's opened back up, just like 1 West Quincy was. The advantage here is that on 2 sides, they have full access. So hopefully they can do most of their construction from these sides and disrupt the alley as little as possible. That will have to be planned and coordinated with the building division and probably Public Works as well, because Public Works has control over the rights of way.
Do we know if there's utilities in there that will have to be accessed in that alley?
At a minimum, I think.
Like, if it's going to be dug up, I mean.
I think at a minimum, they have to access their sanitary. I believe the sanitary runs back through there.
So they'll have to dig that up and put it back?
Yes.
But to answer your question, they do have to leave it in equal or better condition.
Right, okay.
They just don't have to do the enhanced improvement, the asphalt part. That's what, we're allowing to be postponed and then collecting a fee instead of doing that, and then whether or not you want to waive the fee.
As a matter of fact, Chapter 18, Section 18-578 of the Westmont Code of
look at
Ordinances
you.
requires them to restore the alley once construction is completed and not to block access to the alley during construction.
Nice.
Well, thank you, council.
Again, just about the waivers, and I think Joe mentioned it, they originally were looking for TIF incentives, and we don't give TIF incentives for this type of project, so the incentives that we could provide is waiving a couple fees, and that will assist them in completing the project, so.
And this is an alley that we're planning to do anyway?
Yes.
Okay. I'm done, sorry.
No, anybody else? The audience, you got another one? All right. Unless somebody wants something to be pulled out, I need a motion to approve all 9 points. Unless somebody wants one item to be removed. If not, I need a motion to approve all 9 as presented.
Motion to approve as presented, Nero.
Second, Guzzo.
Motion made and second. Additional comments? Nobody? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Little?
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
And Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Welcome to the village.
Thank you much.
And when's the shovel going to go in the ground? Do you know, Joe? When the shovel go in the ground with permits and?
Hopefully we'll apply for permits soon.
Okay.
As soon as we can. Hopefully we'll get a shovel in the ground in the next couple of months.
Okay, good. Welcome.
It's our hard yes.
Moving on, new business C, award a bid proposal, residential alley 5S reconstruction. Board to consider ordinance awarding the bid to Chicagoland Paving Contractors Incorporated for the residential alley 5 South reconstruction project and authorizing a construction contract consistent with the bid documents. Director Reese.
Good evening. This project includes the reconstruction of residential alley 5S from Quincy Street to 55th Street between Washington and Adams. It will be similar to the construction of the other residential alley right behind Village Hall here and reconstructed with asphalt pavement, concrete edge restraint, storm sewer, and associated restoration. The village accepted bid proposals from 3 contractors, and the low bidder was Chicagoland Paving Contractors with a low bid of $1.3 million, which was approximately 4.6% lower than the engineer's estimate.
Have we used them before?
They're doing 12 North.
Okay.
So there's probably some savings there because they're already mobilized on the north side of the tracks.
You have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve Barker.
Second, Nero.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Questions? Anybody? Seeing none, roll call, please.
I'm sorry, it was Barker, and who was this?
Nero.
Thanks, Steve. Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes?
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich.
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll move on to new business. D, engineering agreement. Phase 3 construction engineering for residential alley 5S reconstruction. Board to consider an ordinance authorizing an engineering services agreement with Thomas Engineering Group, LLC, for Phase 3 construction engineering services for the residential alley 5S reconstruction project. Director Reese.
This is a request to approve the sum of $129,500 for construction engineering services for Alley 5S, and this will include construction administration, field inspection, and documentation of this alley reconstruction.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Little?
Second.
Motion made second. You second it. Anybody? Questions?
Mayor, just a comment. I know engineering, we sometimes approve as professional services. Maybe something to think about. I know it hasn't happened since I've been here, but maybe we could do an RFQ on project-based type of things. I don't know, just to keep everybody honest and a refreshed look. It might be a good idea. I know it's just not always done here, but maybe you've done it in your past.
Yeah, many, many times.
It might be something in the future, that's all.
Thank you. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes?
Trustee Simonovich.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business E, approval of change order number 2, north elevated water storage tank. Board to consider ordinance approving change order number 2 to the north elevated water storage tank project, Phase 2 engineering with Baxter and Woodman in the amount of $11,000, bringing the total project cost to $118,100. Director Reese.
This is a change order to, which staff requested to change the design of the altitude valve, which will improve its accessibility. The original design had it inside of a vault. This will move it into the base of the tank, so that it will be above grade and more accessible to staff.
Do you have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve Guzzo.
Second, Little?
Motion made, seconded. Questions? Anybody in the audience? Roll call, please.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes?
Trustee Simonovich.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
New business F, lease agreement. Gordon Flesh. Board to consider ordinance authorizing an agreement with Gordon Flesh for a new 5-year multi-function device lease and maintenance agreement. Director Lindenberg.
This is just our annual, our 5-year lease renewal for copiers for the entire village, so.
It was 5 years ago when we,
Yeah,
it's every 5 years?
every 5 years, yeah. They all start to break right around the 5-year mark, so, and it gets hard to get, parts replaced and that, so.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Little?
Second, Nero.
Motion made in second. Comments? Seeing anybody? No. Roll call, please.
Trustee Little.
Yes?
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. New business G, amendments to solid waste regulations. Board to consider ordinance approving amendments to Chapter 66 of the Westmont Code of Ordinances regulating solid waste. Ms. I don't even know your official title, administrative assistant to everybody.
Oh, sure,
Tarski.
that works. Hello, everyone. This item was put on before we move further to project what we currently do with our waste hauling so that there would not be any issues moving forward. The last time we did this was 1997 when we were starting with waste management. So it was time to relook at the ordinances, and John has updated everything. Any questions? John?
Just that these amendments really reflect not only what the current practices are with waste management, but also with the anticipated contract with Flood Brothers, and it builds in a little more flexibility. So regardless of who the village's waste hauler is in the future, these regulations give flexibility to the village to allow different levels and types of services. And one example is that our, sorry, Article 3 of that chapter requires multi-family buildings to have a recycling program with a vendor of their choice. And with the current contract, we're having Flood Brothers, if it's approved, be the exclusive provider of recycling collection for multifamily properties. So we just wanted to address things like that and also address the process for selecting a waste hauler, whether this waste hauler who's going to be before you next or in the future allows the village to negotiate either directly with the waste hauler or issue RFPs under such terms as the village deems advisable.
Have a motion?
Motion to approve, Little?
Second, Barker.
Motion made second. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich.
Yes?
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business H, refuge contract, Flood Brothers. Board to consider ordinance approving the following. An agreement with Flood Brothers Disposal Company for commercial and residential solid waste, recycling, compost, and landscape waste services. And 2, authorization of a temporary use permit to Flood Brothers Disposal Company and Waste Management of Illinois Incorporated for the temporary storage of waste containers on public or private property during the transition period between contractors and waiver of the permit fees. It's all yours again.
All right, so as of 4 o'clock maybe, we had a final contract. If you have any questions regarding anything, please feel free to ask. And Michael Flood is here as well to answer any questions you may have.
Why don't Michael come up?
Come on up, Mike.
And if you want to address, we've heard you before, but if there's anything you want to highlight.
Good evening, Board. Michael Flood with Flood Brothers. Appreciate the opportunity before you tonight. Our family's excited. Our team's excited. I think working with Spencer and Patty since our last meeting here has been very detailed and very thorough to make sure that this transition, not just for the board making this decision tonight, but the residents and the commercial establishments go seamlessly. I think we've kind of finalize some hopeful opportunities to stage some equipment on site once everything goes well with an approval to make for this transition to be within the community to where equipment is delivered a lot faster rather than coming from one of our yards. So thank you to your staff's help with all that. We're excited, and like I said, we have our public communication stuff ready to go once approved by staff after an approval tonight, as well as I know there's a coffee with the mayor this coming weekend, which we intend to be in attendance to help kind of make sure that the residents can see us in the community and answer any questions that might come up throughout the next 2 months.
Thank you.
Month and a half.
I know there was, I had a comment from a commercial vendor about his contract ending, and then Flood Brothers didn't start, and I think we worked that out as far as I don't even know if you know about it, but it's on Pasquinelli Drive where his...
St. James?
Yeah, St. James, yeah.
I think there was, from what we learned was the landlord handled kind of the majority of everything and kind of put it on the tenants to handle it, and I think there was some communication with Waste Management that they were working through, and from my understanding, I
As
think
far as we
everything's.
know, Waste Management.
They agreed to do it. Good,
Yeah.
good.
The contract for the waste in that St. James Crossing was under the landlord's name. He didn't want to do it anymore, so he was trying to push it onto each renter.
Couldn't
Get your
wait
own
2 months.
contract, 2 months before the contracts all changed, so it just created a little decisiveness, so.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Question for Michael. Is there anything that we asked for, the chairman of the Environmental Improvement Committee, is there anything that we asked for that we didn't get? Good. That's good, because I have a meeting on April 1st.
Go
The
fooling.
last detail we hammered out this afternoon had to do with brush pickup.
Yes.
So we got that all settled to everyone's.
Yes.
Thank you,
everyone's-
thank you.
So we should be good.
And the criteria you put in, they met all the ones. I know you had, you guys, the committee did a lot of work.
They did. So, any other questions?
The May 1st, the transition
First.
between Waste Management taking it and you bringing it, we'll have it in our driveways that week.
You should have it before May 1st.
Good.
So the intention is with the decision of the standard cart, everyone will have a cart before the end of April, and then that opens up a period for residents that choose to, choose a smaller or larger cart. The focus is everyone has a cart by the end of April, before Waste Management starts removing their carts at the last collection day of April.
Good. And the size will be
95 gallon on the recycling side, and then every week collection for the recycling, and then 65 gallon standard for the trash, with the options to increase or decrease.
Thank you.
Just for those of us who have an alley, the carts are going to be dropped off in our driveways, or are they going to be in the alleys? Have we come to that conclusion yet, just so everyone's aware of that? Who's watching?
Where your card is now.
Now is where it's going to be dropped
Where
off.
they pick up your card
Perfect.
is where it will be dropped off.
Perfect, thank you.
And right now, we're working on transitionals and
Yeah.
where everybody can store everything as we do the transitions through the next couple weeks. So we're not out of the woods yet, but we are so close.
We'll make sure it's solved by Saturday before everybody comes to see the mayor.
Tomorrow will be another busy day.
Thank you for coming. And then I wonder if the EIC director would want you to attend that meeting. I don't know, we should ask him.
You know what, I don't think it's necessary, really. I appreciate it, but Mayor, I don't
I
think it's
think the
necessary.
EIC should come to the library on Saturday morning.
Yeah, but it's, they did a lot of work, the staff did a lot of work. We have a good outcome, it's better for Westmont, and we made this point at the last EIC meeting, just be aware that there's gonna be some complaining because the cost is going up for everybody, but it's not going up as much as if it was a different vendor. And that's, maybe you have to say that a couple times at the coffee this weekend.
He has to say.
Well, they're going to seek you out,
Yeah, I
right?
know.
They're going to forget him, but they're going to seek
It
you
was
out.
going to go up either way.
It's going to go, it was going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
This went up, the least amount, but we retained all the services, plus increased
If not more.
recycling.
Yeah, and we don't need a silly schedule on our website that says when recycle is
Oh,
anymore.
yeah.
So excited to recycle every week.
Yeah, I mean, the price is going up, but you're increasing your service level. As we kind of pointed out in our presentation, you're actually lowering your cost because you're gaining a week.
You'll never convince people. of
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
That's good, Bill.
Nice try.
Any contract, the price goes up
Yeah.
every year. That's a
That's
given.
right.
That's the economy, so.
Right.
We minimized it a great deal, so.
I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve Barker.
Second, Little?
Little. Any additional comments, questions, anybody? Roll call, please.
Trustee Barker,
Yes.
Trustee Little,
Yes.
Trustee Brady,
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich.
Yes.
Yes, I look forward to seeing you or somebody on Saturday.
So, 10 a.m.
All right, thanks. No,
Be
be
ready.
there earlier.
Get you a good seat.
Does anybody have any miscellaneous items? If not, we do need an executive session for the purpose of the appointment of special legal counsel for the village pursuant to Section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act. 2, to discuss pending litigation between the village and TJ Real Estate LLC and Tomax Tree Service pursuant to Section 2C11 of the Open Meetings Act, and the review of executive session minutes pursuant to Section 2C21 of the Open Meetings Act. Do I have a motion to go into executive session for those reasons?
Motion to go into executive session?
Second, Nero.
Motion made in second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Little? Yes. Trustee Simonovich?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
And we'll be adjourning the executive session. When it's over, there will not be any further business. Thank you.